Hi and good morning. Today we are talking about how to stay up to date with latest trends in technology. And we have Dweez and Ziad joining us today, so we're really excited to kind of get started on this live stream this morning. And for those that don't know, that we are now at 10:30 a.m. PST. So if you are joining us weekly, just make sure that that time is marked in your calendar because we want to make sure that you guys are all here. Good morning, Ziad. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. How about you, Olivia?
Pretty darn good. It's been a good week so far, a short week, which is really nice. So hopefully we can keep the productivity rolling for the rest of the week. Good morning, Dweez. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. How about you guys?
It's the evening there for you. I should be saying good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good morning to you all. Yeah,
Fantastic.
excited
That's
to be here.
good. I'm so glad. So I'm just telling everybody that today's topic is how do you stay up with the latest trends in technology. So if anybody in here wants to ask questions, we're always open to answering any questions that revolve around the topic today. So feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll just jump right into it and see if we can answer some of your guys' questions. So the first one is obviously going to answer our title question of the day, which is how do I stay up to date with the latest trends in technology? So it can be a very base overview answer because I have a little bit more specific answers coming in. But if you want to provide any resources or any tips for our viewers on where you can stay up to date, that would be great. So I'll start with Ziad.
Sure, yeah. Honestly, so yeah, I'll give like a pretty brief overview just to because we're gonna get really specific with these other questions, like you said. But in general, staying up to date in tech is, first of all, it's a challenge because technology is always changing so fast. Like new things are popping up very, very quickly. Uh, Even those who aren't involved in tech know how fast things change because their lives are like directly affected by it. Like you have the internet, and then you have AI, and then you have like all these buzzwords that come up, like Bitcoin and stuff like that. But when you're in tech, it's even more dramatic because there's like tons of technologies that just come out and people are talking about them, and some people get hyped about different things, right? And the thing that I would recommend early on is never to just kind of like settle into a job and be very, very narrow focused on like the role that you're responsible for. And what I mean by that is like I know a lot of people that will go and work at a great tech company, like they'll go work at Amazon or Google or something like that, right? And they'll have a software engineering role that's very, very specific. Like they'll be doing web development, for example, and then for the next few years while they're at that company, they're only going to do web development for and like not try to expand their horizon, listen to what's happening around them in a sense, right? And the number one thing that I've seen really talented engineers do is get involved with like open source communities. And what that means is like looking at, what projects people are building online, trying to build your own side projects in addition to work, and really just like trying to do something outside of your role after work hours. Like if you're doing web development for 8 hours a day, after the 8 hours, don't go do more web development, like go check out what other people are saying. Right now, AI is this like huge thing that everybody's talking about, Chat GPT and large language models and all that kind of stuff. And as an engineer, that should like spark your curiosity a little bit. Like, how does that work? Let me try to build something with it. Let me just like at least read an article, see what they're saying about it. So having that curiosity to go beyond what your like specific role is what I've seen really successful engineers do in the long run.
That is such a great answer. I feel like we can end the live stream right there. That was a great overview. Thanks. Yeah, that was fantastic. Curiosity, that's my main takeaway from that spiel is like stay curious with them. Dweez, I'm going to throw this question to you. So where and how do we stay up to date with the latest technology? If you want to give a similar spiel to what Ziad said or touch on some resources. I know we're getting into the specifics soon, but feel free to jump
Yeah,
in.
no, as Ziad said, like, I think the main thing that you should be doing, if you have any role at a tech company, it doesn't matter what role you are in, it's important to go outside of that. So if you are doing web development, do not only do web development like outside of work hours. I'm not saying you should like be doing something else, data engineering or something like that outside of working hours, nothing extreme. but you should be always looking to develop yourself, joining open source communities. I think Ziad explained it pretty well. I don't have much to add to it. It's all about curiosity. And yeah, if you are in tech, I feel like it's something that every developer should be doing. I mean, the term developer, right? Like the tech is in constant development as well. So I think it comes down to curiosity, and yeah, you as a developer, you should be willing to learn outside of your work as well.
Completely. I totally agree with both of those answers. Thank you guys for sharing. That was a great intro to our topic today. And I just want to let everybody know that we are here at 10:30 a.m. PST every Wednesday. And if you do like our creators' answers, feel free to send them a gift or support them because we always love to show our creators support on our channels. That's fantastic. So the next question for you guys is, where can I find up and coming tech trends? So like any articles or websites, feel free to jump in and give those specific resources if you have any. Ziad, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I get most of like my information through LinkedIn, to be honest, because like on LinkedIn I'll just like follow like big companies that I know are like highly technical, like the big Googles, the Amazons, as I mentioned earlier. And usually when you are on a social media like LinkedIn or really any social media, like when you follow a certain group of topics, I guess, like their algorithms will recommend you things based on that. So like if I'm following Google and Amazon and then all of a sudden like Microsoft comes out with Chat GPT and OpenAI starts talking about it, like LinkedIn will show me those articles too. So where I usually get my information from. I know that a lot of people, like even on TikTok, for example, like they'll just follow like technical, accounts or tech, even like tech creators and stuff like that, and that's where they're kind of gonna stay up to date in general. So yeah, I would recommend like social media, like really try to surround yourself or like try to purposely like tailor your own social media in a way that it's obviously still fun, but at the same time, like you're still learning, staying up to date with what's going on in the industry.
Definitely surround yourself with those things that you can learn. And I know they're sneaky, especially if you follow them on social media, because they'll just pop up in your feed, and then you don't have to do any extra time like researching in your free time because you're already scrolling through social media and it pops up anyway. So that's a really good point, Ziad. Louise, do you want to answer this question? Where can I find up and coming tech information? So like articles, websites, anything that you can provide.
Yeah, first follow Practicum USA. You do an amazing job at that. No, as the ad said, like if you're following like on LinkedIn, for example, that I know less of, but on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, if you are watching topics related to like tech developments, there are on YouTube. I've seen some pretty nice channels that really are great at is they like bring new topics. I can't name any right now, but their social media is great for that. I also like if you look on GitHub, you see like projects developers are working up like in the trending section on GitHub. There you can also find some, they're not necessarily maybe like articles, but you get to see what people are working on, what is trending, at least in tech. So yeah, there are many other websites as well, news websites that you can look up on Google. But my personal favorite is social media, definitely. And it's best like you just the conversation that you see people having, it's pretty engaging. It's nice.
Mhm.
Definitely. I always love seeing the comment section too, because then you can see like who's differing opinions and like what are the facts that are backing them up, or if they're just like fighting to fight. So it's really interesting. Like I feel like that's a strong resource that you guys both mentioned there. So what is the number one top trending tech of the year this year? I feel like I know the answer from both of you, but I'll let you take it away. Zia, do you want to start?
Yeah, definitely like AI.
Yeah.
like and stuff. In the past years, there's been like different things. Like one year, it was like blockchain, and people were talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that. But yeah, like without a doubt, it's definitely AI. I think it's it's pretty exciting. There's a lot of people that compare it to, like, when the internet kind of became a thing and a lot of companies were launching, and everybody was like thinking about how do we utilize it. I think seems like it's heading in the same direction where, like, there's a lot of hype. Not a lot of people like know 100% like what we're gonna do with it. But it's definitely a cool piece of technology. So I'm excited to see what the next few years have in store for us.
Totally same. And I know our last topic was kind of similar to this one, but it was all about different types of AI. And if you haven't seen that one, go to our YouTube channel and check it out because that was a really strong debate on what's going to happen in the next 20 years in tech. And I know we had some of our female creators on, and it was a very interesting conversation. So feel free to go check that one out too, because that was really really interesting with what's up and coming with AI.
Yeah, we talked
Louise,
about flying cars
yeah,
and things like that. Yeah.
robots taking over the world, all those things. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
take it away, Louise.
Yeah, so as the ad said, oh wait, so the question was,
What is the
what
number
was it?
one top trending piece of technology this year?
Why don't we ask Chat GPT?
We should, just like last time. It might even
Yeah,
say Chat GPT at the top.
no, it's literally AI. It's crazy. It's like I cannot imagine. I don't remember how it was before Chat GPT
Same.
anymore. Like the development happened so fast, right? It just Chat GPT was like, okay, here I am. But yeah, I think it's AI. Like it's not only Chat GPT either. Like you see many other AI tools that are being used. Like everything is AI nowadays. A lot of companies are also AI based. I've seen companies officially change the company name to include AI in it because they are no longer, I don't know, only a software company. Like we do AI as well. So AI, I would say AI is the trending topic in tech for sure. And I
Definitely.
think it will be for a long time.
Completely. I totally agree. I feel like it's just up and coming, and this is exactly like what Ziad said. It's the new internet, but it's AI. So those are really great answers. So I have one question from the chat here, and it kind of relates to the topic because I feel like we can give this person some resources here. But it says, "Hey guys, does this coding thing get better? I'm kind of battling with it. So does anybody have any tips for him? He's probably or is she just starting to code." Does anybody have anything that they could lend him advice, even on the topic of top trending tech up and coming that can maybe help his journey?
Could you repeat the question, please? Oh,
Yeah, he
does this
just
code
says,
thing get better?
yeah, does it get better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably, or he or she are just like struggling right now with coding. So, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can get in. I'm sure Ziad can expand, like Ziad is a walking prompt, like I just type in expand my answer and you'll do it. Okay, sorry. Uh, no, it doesn't get better. Yes. I mean, if you are constantly coding or you're writing code, you're developing software, with time you get better at it. Um, I cannot say it will get easier because there will always be new things you will be learning. As we said earlier, that as a developer, you ideally would want to learn. You need to be curious, so you will be learning outside of your work. Um, but it, for example, if you've been doing web development for 3 years, yeah, and it will get easier in regards to that. But if you are in constant development, that means learning new things, and learning new things from the beginning is never easy. So yeah, that's my answer. I hope it gave some clarification.
That's a great answer, Dweez. Is there anything you want to add to this, Ziad?
Yeah, I think I definitely just want to say, like, the coding aspect of it, I feel definitely gets easier because you start to, like, learn fundamentals that don't change with time. Like, no matter what topic comes out or like what trending topic is out there, like at the end of the day, coding is still just like if statements and for loops and variables and stuff like that. So the fundamentals of it won't change, and once you kind of get those locked down, it's definitely gonna be a much easier time, like in the long run. And staying up with like trending topics and stuff like that and learning new technologies, I feel like it's challenging, but it's like still it's fun, you know. So it's definitely more fun than learning like the syntax of a new programming language or something like that.
Completely. Those are two great answers. I hope it answered your question. And again, we're focusing on new up and coming tech. So if you have any questions around that or any tech that you've seen, feel free to drop it in the chat. We are here every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. PST. And we're absolutely open to answering any questions that anybody has around this topic. So I'm gonna jump around to our questions that I have on the list. So this is a long question. Extended reality, digital trust, 3D printing, and genomics are all said to be in the top 5 of upcoming tech along with AI. Can everybody touch on maybe one or two of these points and why you think it's up and coming? And if you just want to touch on AI, that is A-okay as well.
I think yeah, a lot of those are like definitely buzzwords, which is something I want to talk about as well. And what that means is that like there's usually like a lot of hype around certain technologies and like what can we do with them. So as we said, like a lot of companies will go out and like try to incorporate those into their company in some way so that they can first of all like sell their company well, like or market their company well and say, hey, like we use AI or hey, we use 3D printing, something like people get excited. But yeah, in terms of those technologies in particular, can you list them off again? The 3D.
Yeah, so extended reality, digital trust, 3D printing, and I think it's geometrics. Is that correct? Geonomics?
I don't know it. Like genomics. I think that's yeah, that's like people who are in like biotech and stuff like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean those are all like very different industries.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, for example, I actually work at a company that's technically in digital trust, and what I can say is, digital trust is like identity and making sure, like, authentication is secure and people don't lose their data online and stuff like that. And I can say that that's like a pretty big industry in itself. So I would definitely say that in terms of like up and coming tech, it's pretty big, and I see people getting excited about it, like from the people that I obviously talk to within the company and outside the company and so on. So I think that a lot of like it's important to remember that a lot of those technologies are like important because a lot of customers care about them, like a lot of businesses and people. Like if you ask anybody in the world about like social media privacy, for example, they'll tell you, yeah, like I don't want my data to be used in like a bad way, right? So like those customer or like user needs are what drive these kind of technologies to an extent. So, but at the same time, it's really important to remember that a lot of these like are buzzwords that aren't like crazy technologies, and people just kind of get excited for a while, but then they die down a little bit. And again, I mentioned blockchain earlier. I think
Yeah.
there was like one year where I remember everybody was like talking about blockchain, and my company does this with the blockchain, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are these like huge waves that are going to change the world, which like was true to an extent, but it definitely like wasn't something that people are going to remember in like 60 years like they do the internet, for example, or like personal computers or something like that. So with a lot of these technologies, that's important to remember that like companies are trying to hype them up, building like a product around them, but they're not always like the game changers that they kind of like market themselves to be. So but yeah, the digital trust is the one I have kind of experience with. I don't know. What do you think about these?
Yeah, so from what I've, yeah, blockchain and things, yeah, digital trust indeed is it's big. I expect it to we grow even further. One of the points that I wanted to talk about was extended reality.
Yeah.
I think I know this dude on Instagram. He's like a VR developer actually, and he does touch sometimes. You see him making a post about extended reality, and that was yesterday actually. He made a post and he was where he was talking about, yeah, he thinks that the extended reality, so like it's basically you have like those VR glasses, but like extended reality is more like with applications. So it's not virtual reality. It's basically, you can compare it to from what I understood at least, because I'm no expert in the topic at all, but it's basically you have like a smartphone with your glasses, right? So you have like applications that you have in the extended reality. These things are definitely, yes, going to continue developing. The question is, when, like when is are these things going to become prevalent? Maybe a few years from now, no one will have smartphones anymore. Like people will be like, "Oh, do you have smartphone? Ooh, that's so 2023." So
Hmm.
it's yeah, I'm curious to see how it will develop.
Me
With
too. Those are really,
yeah.
really good answers. Like that was really interesting. Like I know buzzwords are huge in tech, and sometimes like even me saying that long spiel of questions, I'm like, I don't even know what half of these are. So that was a really good explanation. Thank you guys for sharing. I'm gonna jump to a question that we got in the chat. So this person had started coding months ago, and they want to know, does this mean I have to change my lifestyle? Does somebody want to answer this question?
Yeah, I can touch on it. Like, if you started coding some months ago, what lifestyle were you living when you started coding, and how has it changed now? Because I can assume that your life changed. You started coding. For me, I wasn't into tech like that, and when I learned how websites are built and how machines are programmed and just about the existence of code being a concept, you just start seeing life in a different lens. Like you don't just see a website, you see like, yeah, this is, I don't know, to me at least, you see like the beauty, the hard work, the effort that went into the website. So um I digress. To go to your question, does it change your lifestyle? I mean, yeah, if you were working a different job before and you are learning now, maybe you put more time into it. You wake up earlier in the morning. I think if you're learning code, you do need to like adjust your lifestyle to fit the learning. You need to constantly be working on your developing skills. So you will have to adjust here and there in your lifestyle. Maybe stop waking up late, wake up earlier to write code, or go to bed a bit later maybe. So I would suggest you change some aspects of your life so you can have more time that that you devote to coding, basically, or yeah, learning software development.
Completely. That's a great answer, Louise. Zia, do you wanna touch on this question slightly?
Um, yeah, I think I agree mostly with what Dewey said. I mean, your lifestyle might change a little bit just because you're gonna like you're learning something new, but I don't think that's like specific to learning how to code. That's really like if you're just dedicating yourself to any sort of goal like that. Obviously you're gonna have to adjust your lifestyle a little bit. I would say like it's always useful when you are like thinking about a like either a career switch like that or like thinking about wanting to become a software engineer. It's really helpful to like go talk to somebody who's in that field and see what their lifestyle is like and see if that's kind of something that you want to do. Like I majored in computer science in college, but I didn't know like whether I wanted to be a software engineer or like maybe go into like data science or a bunch of different like roles that I could go into. And I ended up like talking to a lot of different people that I either knew or like connected with just to kind of see what I would like and how I wanted to live my life within the tech industry. So I would just recommend like yeah, talk or you can always like read what people are saying online through like Google searches and stuff like that.
Great answers. Thank you guys. I hope that answered your question, whoever asked that in the chat, if they're still sticking around here. So our next question is about the Internet of Things. And I know, Ziad, you've chatted about this briefly. So I'm going to throw this one to you first. So the Internet of Things has been up and coming for a while. It's kind of integrated in. Can you touch on this and how people can utilize it?
The Internet of Things. Yeah, I think the Internet of Things is really cool because um, kind of for the first time, you have people that were really involved in hardware and people who are really involved in software, and they're kind of like able to join the two and able to create really cool things. How to utilize it is a tough one because the Internet of Things really, like, for those of you who don't know, the whole idea behind it is that like with the internet and with like high speed internet especially, um any device or any like normal household item basically can be connected to the internet and made like smart in a way. Like a really good example of that is like TVs, like TVs prior to 2010 or something like that were just TVs. You have a remote, you'd switch to a channel or something on your satellite dish, and that's all you could do with them. But then somebody, especially this company called Samsung, created smart TVs, and they just like put the word smart in front of it, and then they like let it connect to the internet and have all these apps, and like today there's like voice controlled TVs and stuff like that. Same thing with like fridges, up until a few years ago, all fridges do are just for storing your food, right? But then somebody was like, wait, what if we make smart fridges? And all of a sudden fridges are like connected to the internet. And I think we mentioned this in a different live stream. I think you could like order like your groceries from your fridge or have it like order automatically when something runs out, which is like super cool. So that's like the Internet of Things. That's basically when like normal household things or just normal objects, you kind of give them that semi intelligence and have them just like be connected to the internet. So it's a little bit hard to get started with it as like an independent developer, like a lot harder than it is to just like build a website, for example, or build an app. But I would say it's one of those things where like if you have an idea for something, like let's say you want to make a smart water bottle or something, like um, it's one of those things that you're gonna have to like spend a little bit of money to get started with, but at the same time, there's so many resources online. Like for example, AWS, if you're like a normal developer, Amazon Web Services has like an entire section of its website dedicated to the Internet of Things, and like they give you tons of tools to be able to develop. And yeah, you might have to spend a little bit of money initially to like buy hardware or something like that, but it is extremely rewarding. Like I've personally worked in an Internet of Things space where we were making like smart cameras and smart alarm systems and stuff like that. And I can tell you it was super rewarding to be like coding on a computer and then like you see it in real life like actually doing stuff. It's not just like on a screen anymore. It's actually like a physical thing that is like that has your code on it and is like changing in some way. So I think it's super rewarding, and for those who haven't gotten like into an Internet of Things project or company or something like that, it's definitely something that's like worth dabbling in. But just a reminder, like at the end of the day, it's all if statements and for loops. It's nothing like it's not rocket science at all. So it definitely shouldn't be something that's like has a barrier to entry for you as long as you just like know basic code.
That's fantastic. I know somebody, MZ Codes, our OG viewer, has commented and he said a connected toaster. So I'm sure that you could build a toaster with the Internet of Things that's a smart toaster. I think that is actually hilarious. So
How would that work? A smart toaster.
I don't know. I feel like maybe you could order bread from your toaster, just like reordering things from your fridge. I'm not sure.
Have them
Yeah,
grab toast somehow and like put it in automatically.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like wake up in bed and you just like press a button on your phone and it starts toasting your stuff automatically. I think that would be
Exactly. That is awesome. You guys need to patent that idea right now before somebody steals it.
yeah, we should. We should.
Luis, do you want to touch on the Internet of Things?
I think Ziad explained it pretty nicely. I don't have anything else to add to it. I think it will be more prevalent. I do think also that it's one of those skills that if you do learn it now, you're gonna for sure benefit from it in the future because everything is becoming smart.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. I'll throw this next question that I have right back to you, Dweez. It's
Yeah.
about Chat GPT, but we are here. I have two more questions for the guys, and then we'll end it off a little bit early today because there's just two of them. I don't want to overwork them today, but we are here every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. PST. Be sure to follow our account, like the guys have been saying. Like we have really, really great resources on our account from people that actually work in tech, so they're pretty reliable sources. So make sure you give us a follow and again, join in our live streams because we love to answer your guys' questions about our topics. And if you like their answers, feel free to send them a gift and support them. So Dweez, I'll throw this to you. Touching on Chat GPT, how can people utilize this type of tech in their day to day?
Yeah, in your day-to-day life. Okay, so let's say you are a developer. If there are, I don't know, syntax that you like, basic syntax, you can use ChatGPT. In your day-to-day life, you can use it for, let's say at work, you have a question, you ask ChatGPT, it will generate the answer for you. Especially if you're a writer, like you have a job or you do something that's writing related, it can help you a lot with productivity. Like a lot of those smaller tasks, smaller, simple, basic tasks, you can use ChatGPT. I do not recommend you to use ChatGPT to do your job for you, but rather using it as an assistant that can do things that do take a bit of time, but they're simple to execute. I see at university, students use it to summarize everything. Like it saves you time if you are like you have to read also. You can use it for that to summarize articles or whatever. It can have many different usages. Um, I think it should be used as an assistant in you if you especially if you're working, use it as an assistant and you will become more productive, assuming you use it correctly. So yeah, that's how I think you can use ChatGPT in your everyday life.
That's a fantastic answer. I know a lot of people use them for like generating their to-do list. Like they be like prioritize these in order, or like even for content creation, like people will throw in like, okay, create a caption for this video. So that's some ways that I personally use it. But I want to know from Ziad, is there any way that people can utilize this in their day-to-day life with ChatGPT?
Yeah, I think getting it to explain stuff is definitely important. Like in the context of software engineering, I know a lot of people will have it like refactor code for them, for example, or like find a hidden bug or something like that. So I think just like remembering that you can automate tasks is like an important thing because like a lot of engineers will just like try to like go and solve some like I'm prone to this as well. I'll be like, no, like I can solve this issue or I can write this piece of code. Like I don't need AI or something like that. But when I started using GitHub Copilot, which I'll explain in a second, like that completely changed my life. And GitHub Copilot is like an AI pair programming tool, is what they call it. And essentially, what that is that like when you're coding, like you're coding in your VS Code or text editor or whatever, it will know what you're doing based on previous code that you've written, and essentially like recommend the next lines of code for you to write. So, for example, like I haven't actually written like Dweez, you know React and stuff. So I haven't actually written like a header of a React file in so long because like usually I'll just like name the file like homepage, for example, right? Like I'll be designing a homepage and it will like okay, it knows like, based on other homepages that it has seen, most of them, have these import statements and they start out this way and then like I fill in the stuff that's customized to me, right? And all that is done automatically, which is which is super cool because it's really sped up my development. And in fact, I really notice it when it stops working, like when, for example, I'm not connected to the internet for some reason, I'm like on a plane or something like that, and I can't, like, Copilot or AI is not working. I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. It's kind of like when your phone dies, all of a sudden you feel like you're just like in the Middle Ages or something. You're like unable to function without your phone, right? So yeah, if you're a software developer, I definitely recommend GitHub Copilot and as a way to like utilize AI in your day to day. And if you're like a creative person or like a creator or an artist or something like that, you have to kind of like come to terms with the fact that there's a way to get ChatGPT to get like 70% of the way for you on like any given task. and then your like uniqueness and your creativity is like what gets you like the last 20 to 30% of a given task. So yeah, if you haven't used it already, I mean, you're missing out.
Definitely agree with that. I think everybody should use Chat GPT, especially if it can help you in your day-to-day tasks. So this last question kind of ties into Chat GPT. And this will be our last question of the live today. So make sure you give us a follow because again, we're here every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. PST. But how can I stay up to date with the ethics of these new technologies coming out? So this is a difficult question because I know there's not a ton of like things that are already stated on the internet, like you can do this, you can't do this, like this is okay, this is not okay. It's kind of up to us right now to kind of decide that. But is there anywhere that people can stay up to date, or even if you have some ethics tips for people with these new like AI systems coming out? Dweez, I'll start with you.
Yeah, yeah, it's a difficult question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we don't really, okay, so last week we talked about yeah, that they are using AI. Well, for example, I've seen a video. I thought it was, I don't know, it was some famous person. I believe it was Elon Musk,
Okay.
and it was Elon Musk talking with the voice of someone else, another celebrity, and it wasn't even Elon Musk. It was just a deep fake. Like it's not the actual person. It's just an AI generated. How do you call that? It's like an avatar. I don't know.
Yeah.
And this can be like this is concerning, because basically like you should be looking into identity theft and all of these things already. And how do you know, um like how can you detect that? And even like for theses, I've seen like people using AI to write their whole thesis for their university. So yeah, like these ethical concerns that come with it, I think it's not something that we can pinpoint right now because there are many different things that will have to happen. I'm pretty sure plenty of people will get sued. There will be a lot of lawsuits with AI. Google will get sued. Everyone will. It's going to be like a topic of debate because even with data, like Facebook has had a lot of issues with privacy and things like that already. So with AI, I think it's gonna be worse, and it's just like legislations and all of these things are going to be developed. So to go back to answer the questions, how can you stay up to date with the ethics of it? Yeah.
I feel like that
uh,
was that was a really good overview answer of those things.
Yeah, I wouldn't know right now, honestly. It's fairly new. Like I'm pretty. That's we should like start a blog or something, when we write like the ethics behind it. But I have no idea where you can like stay up to date with the ethics right now. At least it's going to get there where we will be talking about it more. But as of right now, I really cannot say how we can do this because it's a fairly new topic.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. It's really difficult because there's just no policy that's come out with it yet, or like blogs, for example. That's a really great overview. Zia, do you want to touch on this a little bit?
Yeah, at this point we're in a state where like yeah, like OpenAI kind of just opened ChatGPT for everyone and is just saying, like use it how you wish, and it's kind of up to like the personal like individual and their morals to like, decide when to use it, not to use it, stuff like that. Because I know exactly what Dweez is talking about, especially with like college students that are using it to like write essays for them or something like that, right? So yeah, it's definitely a difficult question. In terms of staying up to date, I mean, you really have to just like stay in the conversation. And as we mentioned earlier, like making sure you're reading, making sure that your social media feeds and stuff like that are like kind of tailored around these topics that you're interested in, is important because like when finally something does happen, like someone comes out and says, this is how you should use these things responsibly or something like that, you'll be like in the know-how, and you'll be aware of like what to do, what not to do, etc. I think, like Dewey said, that like it's gonna take time for the kind of the dust to settle in around these technologies, and eventually there will be like either laws or regulations, or I know, like in the university context, like they're gonna like figure out ways to only allow students to responsibly use them, stuff like that. So I think it's just like a wait and see kind of thing.
Completely agree. Just make sure that, again, like what Ziad said, like social media is tailored down these conversations so you can kind of monitor what's been happening. But that was a great conversation. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. PST back here. And I know our practicum teams dropped the topic in the chat, so make sure you go back and see that. And we'll see you next week. Is there anything else you want to say, creators, before we head out for the day?
Yeah, like thank you so much for listening. We had a good amount of questions to answer today. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Fantastic. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Have a great week.
Well,
Bye.